I'm going to use the same tools I use to navigate those emotional urges, those when I'm feeling the pull to pornography and like, oh man, I don't feel good and I want to act out. I want to get on the line and I want to go someplace and watch some porn. When I have that sensation, when I feel that, immediately I start to like, okay, what's actually going on here? What has my inner addict noticed about myself that's not okay? What need can I identify that I can fulfill in a healthy way? Hey, welcome back to the podcast, y'all. This is our second episode where my partner in recovery, Matt Sinkovitz, he's still on his silent retreat. He's been on a silent retreat. He'll be back with us in the studio next week for recording. But this episode, I'm recording the week of Thanksgiving. And I wanted to take a minute to talk about a couple of things. One, the holidays and recovery, because we're coming into the holiday season where we got Thanksgiving, we got all kind of holidays coming up. There's, depending on what tradition you might follow, there's Thanksgiving, then we have Christmas just a few weeks later, there's Kwanzaa, there's Hanukkah, there's New Year's Day, New Year's Eve coming up. There's a lot of festivity happening between now and the end of the year. And along with festivity, often comes getting together with family. So we're going to talk about that a little bit on this episode. And I also wanted to share with y'all just something that happened to me recently. So I'll get into that after we talk. It's a story that has to do with Thanksgiving, right? So let's talk about Thanksgiving coming up. So today it's Monday, November 24th at the time of this recording. I'm going to get together with family on Thursday, get together with family on Friday. There's another family event on Wednesday evening. This week, there's a lot of extended family events in my life. And one of the things that I've learned navigating my recovery is that when I'm having conversations with people, triggers are going to happen because they're still living their own life. They're on their path. They're making their decisions, doing what they're doing in life. I'm doing what I'm doing in life. And oftentimes just people say innocuous things that maybe rub me the wrong way, right? You know what I'm talking about. You're at the Thanksgiving dinner, crazy Uncle Eddie says something way out of kilter, or Aunt Sarah is always nitpicking everything. Whatever family event you're coming up to, there's probably going to be some sort of emotional conflict. And I love my extended family. I love my family. I love my in-laws. I love my parents, my brothers, my sisters, my sister, my siblings, my cousin, my aunts, my uncles. I love all of them. And yet at the same time, nobody irritates us like family. So as you're going into these holiday events, Thanksgiving get together, Friendsgiving, Christmas party. I know there's 2 Christmas parties that I've gotten invitations for already. There's all sorts of these events coming up. And whenever people get together, especially family, I've noticed there often is emotional turmoil that happens. Whether it's just the chaos and conflict of getting my house ready for the family to come over Thanksgiving afternoon and making sure the kids have their rooms picked up, making sure that we have all the fixings and everything we need, connecting with my wife for grocery lists, whatever. There's going to be ripe opportunity for emotional pain, for this conflict to pop in. Being married, I'm coming up on my 20-year anniversary, which is less than a month away. December 17th is my 20-year anniversary. And interacting with my wife, she keeps lists and everything. And there is going to be opportunity for me to take offense at something that my wife says, some need that she has, some that she says, which from my lens is like, oh man, that hurt when she said that. Why didn't she ask me this when I was at the store? I've already left the grocery store. No, I can't turn around and go back and pick up this. On and on and on. All right, working with my kids to make sure the house is picked up for family to come over. My 10-year-old daughter does not like picking up her room. None of my kids like picking up their room. I don't like picking up my room. Why would I expect them to like it? So as we're going into these events, one of the things to think about is how can we practice our recovery skills in real time? Because addiction specifically when we're talking about porn addiction, right? It's not so much that you have a porn problem, you have a pain problem, and you're reaching for porn as the pill to manage the pain. So the first step is to be aware. Going into this week, being around family increases the opportunity for that pain to show up. It just does. Because humans communicate with each other. We misinterpret what somebody says. We think we're under attack. We get all bent out of shape as men in our heads. Our emotions start to flare up. We're afraid of our emotions. We don't know how to let them process in a healthy way. We think, oh my gosh, I'm under attack. I'm feeling bad. My life is spiraling out of control. Nobody appreciates me. I just wish somebody would be thankful for me, for all of the stuff that I do to make our family work. All the hours I'm in the office, all the weight that I'm carrying, all the chores that I do, whatever that is for you, brother, we all have a similar story in our head. And this is an opportunity for us to show up as men with peace and power, stable in our emotions, and use the same tools. I'm going to use the same tools I use to navigate those emotional urges, those when I'm feeling the pull to pornography and like, oh man, I don't feel good and I want to act out. I want to get on the line and I want to go someplace and watch some porn. When I have that sensation, when I feel that, immediately I start to like, okay, what's actually going on here? What has my inner addict noticed about myself that's not okay? What need can I identify that I can fulfill in a healthy way? That same structure we can apply to our families. When our kids are frustrated, when our wife is stressed out, when we feel like we're under attack, we can use the same process. The 4-rack formula applies to everyday situations, not just struggling with, oh man, I really want to use porn right now. It's like, oh, one, remember the pain. It's painful to just be stuck inside of our head, to be stuck to fester and stew in those unpleasant emotions. Remember the paradise. Like, oh, I really do love these people. They really do love me. The story in my head is going crazy, but I know what reality is. I know that I have compassion and love for my children. I know that my daughter didn't wake up this morning thinking, how can I ruin my dad's life, right? Kids don't think like that. They're just trying to get through their day. Remember the pain, reflect on paradise, reflect on what you're actually needing. Like, what do I actually need in this moment? What do I need? Am I tired? Did I get a good sleep last night? Have I been eating okay? Am I hungry? Do I feel disconnected because I've been going 12, 16 hours a day and I haven't had a chance to talk with my kids, talk with my wife? I haven't been able to connect on an emotional level. What do I actually need? And then resolve to your commitment. For me, my commitment is to show up with peace in the midst of conversations where I feel like I'm under attack. And when I feel the urge for porn, my commitment is, okay, I'm not going to use porn. I'm going to find something else to meet whatever that need is. And then continue with the formula. A, ask yourself, what else can I do to meet this need? If you're hungry, eat a Snickers bar. I mean, that's not the greatest thing you can eat. Eat a burrito, eat a sandwich, eat some soup, eat a salad, eat some chicken, get a hamburger if you're hungry. If you're tired, if you identify, oh man, I'm exhausted, take a nap. I need to connect, send a text message to someone. Say, hey man, you want to catch up on the phone? You want to go for a walk? You want to go for a run? You want to meet me for a boot camp workout? Whatever it is. Ask yourself, what else can I use? What else can I do to meet this need? And then C, the last step in the 4-rank formula is choose your next step. Because we always have our choice. No one can take that away from us. And when we own that, like, yes, I am actually choosing pornography. I'm not just being sucked into it. Or I'm choosing to meet this need in another way. The 4-rank formula. It applies to the conversations and emotional punches we get from life just as much as it applies to in the moment dealing with the urge to use pornography. I want to tell you a story about this. Like, remember the pain, reflect on paradise, ask yourself what else. Because the other day, I was going on a walk with my dogs, and I was not doing well. This was a rough morning. I'd had some. It'd been a tough week. A lot of stuff going on with work. A lot of stuff going on with the family. Schedule is chaotic. Couldn't have it. My wife and I's normal time that we had scheduled got blown out of the water because of other pressures on the calendar. My wife had extra volunteering she was doing with this organization that week. And I was feeling disconnected. And I noticed the pain when I was on the walk with my dogs. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel bad. I feel like my life is falling apart, even though it's not. I feel that way. And here's all the reasons why I feel that way. I feel unappreciated, uncared for, unwanted, taken for granted, undesired, all these things that just explode in a man's head. And I was on my walk with the dogs. We have 3 dogs. They're pretty well trained. They know all the basic commands: sit, stay. They go to their spot, come, heel, down, all these different commands that we've trained them with. And this particular morning, I was walking with the dogs and I was paying very close attention to them being on heel. And when they would get off heel, I'd correct them and they'd get right back. And after a few minutes on this walk, I noticed something. I noticed, when I'm really focused on these dogs, this negative story in my head about not being wanted, not being appreciated, it can't coexist with my focus of paying close attention to these dogs and how they're doing on spot. And I let my thoughts drift for a minute. I'm like, okay, now I'm back in this story. This story has spun itself up in my head, being unwanted, taken for granted, undesired, like all these uncomfortable thoughts. I thought, okay, I'm going to focus back on these dogs and the training I'm doing with the dogs just to see what happens, see what I can notice. And I noticed after a minute or two of not very intense focus, but intentional focus on how the dogs are doing, it's like, the story in my head started to dissipate. The emotional rise started to fade. It didn't disappear, but it was just kind of in the background. It wasn't controlling the narrative in my head, in my body. And then I started to take it one step further. I thought, okay, if I can focus on the dogs and ignore this story in my head, let's see what thoughts I can create. Let's see what thoughts I can choose to have in this moment. And how much I love my wife, how much I love my children. Think about the moments where my wife has sent me a text message of appreciation, where my children have expressed gratitude for what I do as their dad, for times where I have felt especially emotionally connected with members of my family. And I started to focus on these thoughts that I was intentionally creating in my head. And by the end of the walk, I was pretty impressed with how my emotions had calmed down. The unpleasant story in my head was quiet. And I got back from the walk in this centered state of peace and was able to show up for my family that day, the rest of the day, with that strength and stability instead of this emotional chaos following me around. It only took a few minutes. And that's my offering, right? This story, like, we get to choose our thoughts. Yeah, oftentimes we don't get to choose our thoughts. Our thoughts just pop up like chaos, right? The inner addict, the inner critic just throws a chaos grenade in our mind and stories blasting at max volume, cranked to 11, playing super loud. We're like, oh my gosh, my life is collapsing. I feel terrible. And in the midst of that pain, my invitation is, remember, we can choose what we think about. I'm not saying it's easy. Yo, it is not easy. And it's taken me practicing this over and over on a daily basis, practicing my thoughts, practicing noticing my emotions as part of my daily routine for recovery, engaging in this practice on a daily basis so that when those thoughts try and crowd in, I have put in the reps to be like, okay, that's an interesting thought. But what do I want to think about? I really don't want to think about that. Don't want to have that intrusive thought controlling the narrative. So as we go into all these events with family, extended family, the Thanksgiving season, the Christmas season, start practicing noticing your thoughts, noticing your emotions. Just briefly. You can use that 4-rack formula as a template. Be like, oh, what's actually going on here? When your brother is at Thanksgiving and says something crazy, and be like, oh my gosh, my brother is a doofus. My sister is mean. Whatever the story is, you can choose what to focus on in your thoughts. You can choose to create thoughts of compassion and grace and forgiveness and connection inside your head. To let your emotions subside so that you can be present with your family with peace and power as we enter this time of Thanksgiving. And on that note, with Thanksgiving, I want to say some of the things I'm thankful for. I am so thankful for the work that I found through the Liberation Bootcamp. I'm thankful for Matt Sinkovitz for starting the Pour Into Purpose program, for creating the curriculum, designing the curriculum around the Liberation Bootcamp, for building the community of men who can be present and be seen on their journey in total safety and freedom. A community where it's safe to be who we are as we grow away from porn and into purpose. I'm grateful for my wife, who has been so patient with me for decades as I've struggled with this and as I've found freedom just in the past couple of years. I'm grateful for my children who love me no matter what. I'm grateful for the men in my life who have supported my recovery. I'm grateful to be on this podcast, to be in a place where I can talk about pornography addiction, talk about recovery, talk about sobriety, speaking to other men who are where I was. I am so grateful for where I am in life now. And honestly, I'm grateful for the growth that I found because of my addiction. It's this weird, paradoxical grief and gratitude. I grieve that I had so many decades stuck in porn addiction. But at the same time, I'm grateful that the addiction brought me to recovery and brought me to this growth journey that I did not even know existed. So wherever you are today, brother, we're coming up on Thanksgiving. I wish you and your family and your loved ones a very happy and grateful and thankful Thanksgiving. Keep doing the work. We appreciate you tuning into the podcast this week. Go connect with family. Remember why you're working to recover from porn, because your family is worth it. Love you, brothers. Peace and power. We'll see you on the next episode.